Hey guys, I hope you're all having a really good day. I am really excited to do this video today on minimalism, which is something I'm so passionate about. So I'm gonna talk about like my minimalist story and then some tips on how to declutter if that's what you're desiring to do, and also the benefits, like why minimalism is so beneficial to your life and how it really helped us. I thought I'd film outside today, so hopefully it's not too noisy, and if I'm looking down it's because I have notes that I am reading from. Okay, so this started our minimalism story 6 years ago. We were living at the time in, this is my husband Nick and I, we were living in like a 4-bedroom house, and that Nick owned, and we had a double garage, and the house and garage were stuffed with crap. We had so much stuff, and I always felt really overwhelmed by it, but I didn't really know what to do about it. And I read a blog on Facebook about downsizing. I can't remember who it was or what post it was, but it really inspired me, and I just started decluttering. I started downsizing, and I started really resonating with the concept of minimalism. And at the time, our financial state was an absolute mess. We had accumulated, over the first kind of few years of our relationship together, we had accumulated an enormous amount of debt, and it was really serious. We were both very addicted to spending, and we were spending well beyond our means and just buying a whole lot of crap that we did not need. And at the time I wasn't vegan and I wasn't living ethically, and so I would just go out and buy stuff whenever I wanted to. I still bought a lot of stuff secondhand, but it was still a lot of stuff that I did not need, and a lot of it was clothing and shoes and handbags, and it was really crippling for us. And yeah, we were literally on the verge of bankruptcy, and I'm happy to say now that we have paid off over 3/4 of the debt, and we are 1 year away of being debt free, which is so exciting. And a lot of that is to do with minimalism. So how did I get from like there to where we are now? Because we moved to the Tropics at the start of this year with 6 boxes of possessions for all 3 of us plus our dog Toto. So, and that feels really amazing. It feels really amazing to get to this point, and it's certainly taken us a long time. So I started downsizing, and Nick really wasn't on board. He didn't really understand why I was doing it, and he kind of just thought I was, getting rid of things for the hell of it. And I was like, I said, that's fine, you do your thing, and I'll just get rid of the stuff that I don't want to keep anymore. And so I just kept getting rid of more and more stuff. So I would donate stuff, every few weeks or every week, and it started really, I started to really notice how much freer it was to let go of stuff. And then we sold the house, and that paid an enormous chunk of our debt off, which was, it took us basically back from the brink of bankruptcy, which was really great, and it was a huge step in the right direction. And it felt really good to let go of that house because it was too big for us. It always felt really big. It was a beautiful house, but it never really felt like it was our home because it was so massive, and I think we'd kind of rushed into it in the honeymoon phase of our relationship without really thinking about if it was going to serve our needs or what sort of house we wanted to buy. And so we moved into rental houses, and over the next few years we lived in different rental houses, probably on average like every year. And so every time we moved, I would purge my belongings. I would downsize more and more. and there's nothing like moving house to make you realize how much stuff you have. And it really brought my awareness to how freeing it was to let go of things that I no longer needed. And I got more and more ruthless the more that we moved. And then when we had Romeo, we still had too much stuff, but I began downsizing even more. And by this point, our financial state was a lot better. It's still a long way to improve, but I had realized how much I wanted to stay at home with Romeo, and that if I wanted to do that, we would have to learn to live on a single income. And so that was a really, really good catalyst for me to cut down on my spending and stop bringing things into the home that weren't really serving me, when really what I wanted to be doing was really living simply with Romeo, spending lots of time in nature with loved ones. And you don't need a lot of money for that. You don't really need any money for that. And so I kept downsizing more and more, and then we moved from Christchurch to Wellington in New Zealand, and again we got rid of a lot of stuff before we moved. But the biggest catalyst was our decision to move to the Tropics, which came about last year. And basically what happened was, we'd been living in Wellington for 1.5 years, and though it's a beautiful city, we didn't really love living there that much. It didn't really feel like home to us, but neither did Christchurch, where we grew up. So we started thinking about where we wanted to live, and I realized that I really, really deeply desired to live somewhere that was warm year-round, and that had tropical fruit in abundance, somewhere that basically I could go out into nature throughout the year and not be freezing cold. And New Zealand is a beautiful, beautiful country, but it's everywhere you go in New Zealand, it is pretty cold in winter. And so we decided on Australia, and we decided initially on Byron Bay. Ended up in the Gold Coast, which is just part of our journey. And it was a huge drive to really get rid of the excess, because we wanted to move as quickly as possible. We didn't want to endure another winter in Wellington. We were really struggling there. And so we just decided that we were going to sell all of our belongings in 6 months and save up enough to cover the expense of moving over here. And that, in order to do that, we would only bring what we could take on the plane with us, which is, you're allowed like 2, boxes or bags per person of checked in luggage. And so that's what we did. And I have never been more ruthless with downsizing, and it felt amazing. And even a few days literally before we left, we realized that the stuff that we had that we thought could fit into the boxes we had to take, they didn't actually fit. So we just had to get rid of more and more stuff. And it was so wonderful and freeing to just really get rid of the excess in order to serve, our desire and dream to live in a place that was going to really enhance our, our overall mental and physical well-being, and, bring us closer together as a family, and enable us to really homeschool Romeo in the way that we desired to, which was spending as much time as possible at the beach and in nature. And it was such a wonderful feeling. And so we did it. We got down to 2 boxes each, and it was really exciting at the airport, because ever since I was a little kid, I'd always really loved the idea of living out of a suitcase or a backpack, and just packing all of your belongings into a small case. And it was really wonderful to actually physically get to that point. I personally packed all of my belongings into a 40-litre backpack and a 20-litre backpack, which was so amazing. It was such a great feeling. And since then we have added a few things in since we moved here, like a bed and things like that, which is just a mattress on the floor. That's how we prefer it. And a few other things, but we've also gotten rid of a lot of things that we brought over that weren't serving us, particularly a lot of toys for Romeo that we're becoming more and more simpler with what surrounds him and what toys we want to be in his environment, and becoming very conscious of that and how it affects him. And so how did we do that? Now I can tell you that over the years, initially the first few years, because it did take a long time, as I said, about 6 years for us to get to this point. It definitely does not need to take you that long, but I didn't really use a particular technique other than just putting everything into piles of either keep this, donate it, or maybe the maybe pile. That was the only technique that I really used, and I think that is a good technique, but I think that if you're really wanting to get your belongings down to a smaller amount, a simpler amount, a manageable amount really quickly, then I highly recommend that you use a packing party. A packing party is where you literally pack all of your belongings into boxes in your house, and then over the next month you bring out only what you need. So you go and bring out a knife to use to cut up your fruit, the blender to blend up all your banana smoothies, etc. And then at the end of that month you get rid of everything that you didn't bring out and use. And if there are some sentimental items in there, then I would highly recommend this, and you're struggling with those, whether to keep them, whether to get rid of them, I would highly recommend that you digitalize all of your notes and photos and things like that you would like to keep but don't want physical copies of. I'll do a separate video on this because this is a huge part of minimalism that I think a lot of people really struggle with, and so I'll do a separate video on digital minimalism. And so yeah, with sentimental items and with anything else that you're struggling with, the KonMari technique of the spark joy technique is really, really helpful, and I used this towards the end of my journey, and it really helped me consciously choose which items to keep and which items to let go of before we left for Australia. You hold each item and you just stay with it for a moment and feel if it's something that truly sparks joy. Does this item spark joy? And there might be a few items that are just useful, but if you've used the packing party system, then this system for sentimental items is really wonderful, because I believe that often with sentimental items, a lot of the time, not always the case, but a lot of the time we hold on to them out of guilt because someone may have gifted it to us, or fear of what would happen if I don't have this? What would happen? And so using this technique will help you truly uncover if it's something that you really desire to keep, or if it's just something that you're holding on to out of guilt or fear. And on that topic, it's really important to remember that things are not memories and things are not people. If there are things, memories are memories. Memories cannot be taken away if you lose or donate an item. And if you've got items, particularly ones that have belonged to people that have passed away, these can be particularly hard to get rid of. I had some items that belonged to my grandmother that I didn't want or need, and she hadn't even given them to me. I had just chosen to keep those things out of her belongings after she passed away, and I helped clean out her house, which was a massive task because she was a hoarder. And I realized that I was keeping them out of guilt, and I was associating the memories that I have with my grandmother with this item, which is just, the memories are there, they're inside of us. We don't need the item might trigger that memory, but it's not the memory. And so if you're feeling really strongly about this, but you don't want to keep the item, but you're scared about losing that memory trigger, then I recommend taking a photo of the item and then donating the item. So the packing party, like I said, these are the systems. The packing party, highly recommend that one. I wish I'd done it at the very beginning of our journey, using the spark joy technique. And then there's also the technique of sorting things into piles of keep, donate, and maybe. The maybe items, put them aside for a month. Schedule that month, that time frame away. Schedule it somewhere so that you remember at the end of that month. If you haven't used it, get rid of it. Be ruthless. And I'll do a separate video on the sentimental items so that I can expand on what I was saying before. You can also do, if you're feeling like you are strapped for time because the packing party, if that feels like it's too overwhelming for you, then what you can do as well is get rid of one thing on the first day of the month, 2 things on the second day of the month, 3 things on the third day of the month, and so on. And what you'll find is that once you start getting into downsizing and decluttering, it will feel so freeing that you will not struggle to get rid of things. You'll probably get rid of more than you need to, and it's just such a wonderful feeling. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the benefits of minimalism, and this should be a whole separate video, but I think it's really important to recognize this, because minimalism is not something that is going to solve all of your problems and make you happy, but it's a tool. It is an incredibly beneficial tool to assisting you in living the life that you desire and dream of. And that's at the core of it for me. So these are just some of the things that minimalism gives me. So it gives me mental clarity, and it makes me feel calm and relaxed. I love having space in the house and a spacious feeling for me to move around, for Romeo to play. And I also really love having the freedom of not having a whole lot of stuff to constantly tidy up. I'm a big neat freak. I love things neat and tidy, and I think that's one of the reasons why minimalism is just so attractive to me. I've always loved organizing and having things neat and tidy and in its place. When you have less stuff to organize, less stuff to tidy, more time to do things that are more enjoyable. Okay, so it assists you in living your dreams. You know, because we were able to cut down our spending and let go of our unhealthy spending habits and recognize where we were going wrong financially, we recognized that the things that we truly wanted in life didn't actually cost that much money. And the amount of income that we live on here is by far the least amount that we have ever lived on as a couple together. But we are so happy, and that's because we're living in a country that we really love the climate here. We love being close to the beach, and we love the sort of relaxed lifestyle that it enables us to live as a family. And without minimalism, we wouldn't have been able to do that. We wouldn't have been able to move here. It would have cost a lot more money to move here with all of the stuff that we had before. And it's also clearing out all the physical clutter also forces you to look at the mental clutter that you have. What's going on in your head? What kind of unhealthy thoughts and habits and negative thought patterns do you have that are weighing you down and burdening you and preventing you from living the life that you truly dream of? Because you deserve to live that life. Everyone does. And it's really important that you know, we look at the ways that the things that are holding us back and see if we can let go of those. I'm also able to stay at home with Romeo and work on Mermaid Mama while homeschooling him, which is something that makes me really happy. I love being with him all the time and being able to parent the way that I want to parent. It's a wonderful feeling, and not have to take him to daycare. I recognize that I'm very privileged and lucky to be in that position as well, but a lot of that has to do with downsizing and living more simpler, and not having to rely on so much money. And on that, you save so much money. You're just not buying crap all the time that you don't need. So you just save so much money, and then you can put your money towards things that truly make you happy. Like we are wanting to live in a house bus eventually, and hopefully the next 2 years. And so we're paying off the last of our debt, and then we're saving up for that. You feel lighter. Just back to that feeling of, mental clarity. I have time in the mornings now. I spend over an hour every morning just on self-care. And one of the reasons I'm able to do that is because we don't have that much stuff. I'm not constantly doing housework, and so I can just get up in the morning and spend time nurturing my body, nurturing my mind, and really making myself, a happier, healthier person. And you have more fulfillment and more gratitude. When you go without certain things, you recognize what's truly, truly important to you. When we moved here, before we moved here, we trialed things like living without a mattress, which we had to do for a few nights before we moved. And we discovered we really loved sleeping with a mattress. We didn't like a bed, but we liked having a mattress. And just, living without those things really gave me a huge feeling of gratitude for having a bed when I did have one. And the same as the items that we do have, the items that we surround ourselves with, the items that we truly cherish and we truly love, and they serve us and the lifestyle that we want to live. And that's a really wonderful feeling. Nothing goes unused or unloved. And it feels really, really good to be living that way. And the last thing I'll say is that it got us off the consumer carousel of endless buying. If you watch my other videos, you'll know that I buy primarily secondhand for multiple reasons. It saves you a lot of money, but it's also the most ethical, earth-friendly way to live. And because we don't buy a lot of stuff, we're not stuck on that endless consumer carousel of working in jobs that we hate to pay for things to impress people. Basically, like, we only have one car, and that serves us really well, and it's not a flash car by any means. It does the job, and that's all we desire. We want simple things in our life that are useful, that allow us to live in alignment with our values and do things that we want with our time. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed hearing my minimalism story. As I said, I'm going to keep doing a whole series of videos on these, so I'll definitely do that digital minimalism video, and also one on sentimental items and how to let go of those, if that's what you desire to do. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. Have a great day wherever you are.